Welcome to the Call the Vet Show, the podcast that helps pet parents understand and optimize the health of their furry family so they can live the full and happy life you want for them. And here's your host, veterinarian Dr. Alex Avery.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Call the Vet Show. I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex, delighted to be sharing your earbuds with you again for another week, and I'm sticking with the theme of summer problems and giving you over the next few weeks kind of short, sharp introductions and information into some really important topics that are likely to be affecting your pet at this time of year when the weather is a little bit warmer, when the sun is shining, and in this instance when the insects and the pollen counts are high. Because today I want to talk to you about itching and why it's a problem that you should definitely not ignore, even if it seems to be little more than a minor inconvenience for your pet. But before we get into that, if you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button so that you don't miss out on any of my future episodes. And I'd love it if you're already a subscriber to share this episode and tell your friends and family about it so that I can help more pet parents and more pets live the full, happy and comfortable life that you want for yours. So with that in mind, let's get into today's show. Now, itching it's a problem year round, and there are a number of different causes of itchiness in dogs, but it's especially a problem in the summer and autumn. It maybe starts in spring as well, depending on the cause. But the two biggest causes that I see are fleas. Believe you me, I see fleas every single week of the year in the veterinary clinic, and I live in New Zealand where it is pretty hot in the summer, but it is also pretty cold in the winter, and yet fleas are still a year-round problem. So bear that in mind when it comes to the need to control our fleas, especially if your dog is suffering from the second problem, which is allergies. So allergic skin disease is probably the biggest cause of frustration for pet parents, but also for vets. It's incredibly common. About 20% of dogs are going to suffer from some form of allergic disease in their life. So, definitely bear that in mind as well. Lots of other causes of itching. We've got mange, we've got infections, we've got immune problems within the skin, we've got ringworm. There's all kinds of different potential causes, but fleas, allergies are definitely the two most common. And this is why you shouldn't ignore your dog's itch, is because it isn't just that minor inconvenience. One, it's a sign that there is another problem going on. Your dog doesn't itch just for the sake of it, doesn't scratch just for the sake of it. But also, itching actually increases the severity of the problem. And we get something called the itch-scratch cycle. So whatever it is that is initiating the itch, so it could be the trauma, those fleas biting your dog that's just really irritating and so they scratch. Or it could be because the body's immune system is overreacting to a pollen, to a food, to the flea saliva. That's causing general inflammation that's causing your dog to scratch. But the itch-scratch cycle is something that happens when we start that scratching, because what happens is your dog scratches that, and just imagine it yourself, it's probably the same, and you've probably experienced this if you've had an insect bite. You can't help yourself. You scratch that itch. It's a reflex, and it's a pain-like reflex. So actually, that's another reason why you shouldn't ignore their itch, because it is just like being in pain, especially if they're itchy for a long period of time. But when they're scratching, they damage the skin. That damage causes more skin inflammation, which increases the feeling of itchiness for your dog. So it increases the scratching. And you can see how this perpetuates into a vicious cycle of more skin damage, more inflammation, more itchiness, more scratching. And so it goes on. Now, if your dog also has allergies, this is extra bad because that skin damage also allows deeper penetration of the allergens. So whatever it is that's causing your dog's environmental allergies or atopy, it allows the deeper penetration of those within the skin, which just exacerbates the allergic response as well as the general inflammatory response. So really, if you notice your dog itching, you've got to jump on it very, very quickly. Sure, all dogs scratch every now and then, but I'm talking about when they are scratching more than normal. It's kind of an incessant all day affair, or you're noticing them multiple times in a day, and this is where your dog best with how much they normally, kind of a little bit sensitive maybe, and how much they scratch behind their ear every day. If you're noticing an increase in that, really take that on board and jump in sooner rather than later. Now, the first thing that I'd encourage everybody who's got an itchy dog or cat to do. And for cats, they're not always scratching. They might be licking themselves excessively. They might be spending more time grooming themselves. So they don't often kind of scratch in the same way that dogs do. But yeah, if they're spending a lot more time grooming, licking themselves, even licking themselves bald in certain places, the first thing that you should do as a pet parent for your dog and cat, or your cat if you're seeing this, is to check them for fleas. Now, this is maybe not as obvious as people might think, because like I say, I see fleas every single week in the vet clinic. And this is for owners who are bringing their pets to me because they're recognizing that they're itchy and that's causing a problem to their pets, and they want to get to the bottom of it. Now, they've had a look and they've not seen the fleas. You're not always going to see adult fleas. They are, they're pretty small. They're hard to see, especially if your pet has got a darker coat, and they move very quickly. So as you kind of try and part the fur, they scurry away, and it can be very easy to miss them. There's a couple of kind of really simple strategies that you can take to make sure that you definitely are spotting fleas if they're there. The first is to look for something called flea dirt. Now, this is going to be little black specks within the coat. Now, it's flea dirt rather than just dirt, kind of soil, or, wherever your dog's or cat's been in the undergrowth. By putting a little bit of this flea dirt on a wet piece of cotton wool or kitchen paper, toilet roll, something like that, and just moistening it slightly and rubbing it. And what you'll notice is that flea dirt, it turns the paper or the cotton wool a rusty red colour. Now, if it's normal dirt, then it just stays kind of brown or black. But if you've got that rusty red smear, and it can be quite difficult to see, so you need good light, and depending on what your eyesight's like, you might need a little bit of magnification even. But if you're seeing it go a rusty red, then you know for certain that that's flea dirt, and your dog has got fleas or your cat has got fleas. The thing that can help with this, and kind of the second point to help catch any live fleas as well, is to buy yourself a flea comb. So these are very similar to nit combs for kids. If you've got young kids, you'll probably be aware of the need to keep an eye out for the dreaded nit. But these are narrow toothed combs that you just sweep through your pet's coat, and it's going to pick up any live fleas, but it's also going to lift up any flea dirt. So this really is the number one thing that you should do if you notice that your pet is itching, because it is very simple to then go and treat them for fleas. It's going to save you an unnecessary trip to the vet, and it's going to be much cheaper, and it's simple. Now, if it comes to treating fleas and a flea infestation, you need to make sure that you maintain that treatment for at least 3 months. And the reason for that is that adult fleas only make up about 5% of the flea population. And this means that you've got all the eggs, the developing larvae, and the pupa, which are incredibly resistant to killing in your pet's environment. And it takes time for these to mature, to hatch out into adults, and then be killed by that flea treatment. So you really need to make sure that you're maintaining that for a number of months if you do notice that your dog has fleas or your cat has fleas. If they're clear, fantastic. We then need to get to the bottom of that itch. Equally, if they've got fleas and your pet is, really scratching themselves to pieces, you're going to also want to visit your vet, because your vet's going to be able to give them medication to take that itch away in the short term, which is going to provide a huge amount of relief. And if they don't have fleas, then they're going to be able to investigate what's causing that itch.
Helping your pet live the happy, healthy life they deserve.
Now, in the next few episodes, I'm going to talk to you more about allergic disease. Like I say, it's incredibly common in dogs. And actually, allergies and itch is so common that I've actually written a book called Allergy First Aid. So if your dog is itching all the time, if they've got allergies, then make sure you head over to ourpetshealth.com/allergy first aid to check out that book and to really start your journey to eliminating your dog's itch, to successfully treating their allergies and taking back their quality of life. And next week, I'm going to be talking to you all about the different types of allergies that dogs get. There's 3 main groups. I wanted to talk to you about how they differ and why it's important to know, and also how you can actually go about determining exactly what it is that your dog is allergic to. But until the next episode, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is the Call the Vet Show, because they're family.
That's it for this episode of the Call the Vet Show. Be sure to visit callthevet.org to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. We'll see you next time.